bonjour, good evening slash afternoon slash whatever time of the day it is for you, dear viewer. As you can see, my beautiful little, what you thought I was going to say, as you can see, we're in front of Parliament Hill. No, what's more important to me is my beautiful little señorita is making her way towards us. And yes, we are at Parliament Hill. We were in Ottawa, and I insisted that we, you just dropped your glove. You dropped your damn glove. Your glove.
You know, this is
she drops everything. If it wasn't for the fact that God and angels are looking after her, and that's another proof of God's existence. Like, basically, it's like the person on the street hit law of attraction. And she's like, well, I always know I'm going to find the car spot. And she always does. An atheist will say, well, you know what, it's just mere coincidence, and that the mind basically, person essentially finds what they're looking for, right? If you believe, in a sense, like they'll say it's a random universe, and if you're looking for certain patterns, you'll find them. So if you believe you find a parking spot each time, or that angels are protecting you or whatever, then that's going to be the case. Now, this is a case in point along the same similar lines. I have a belief that wherever I go, whatever city, first of all, my life's an amazing adventure. I've been to so many different places and blah, blah, blah. And everywhere I go, I always find these secret little things, like this perfect cliff diving spot, cliff jumping spot in Vancouver. Or let's say, like in Cyprus, like different places that nobody's heard of, or general public. Beaver tails, I've been in Canada for 14 or 15 years. I've never heard of beaver tails. Apparently, they're going to light this place up at night, and I don't mean set it on fire. Apparently, they're going to put the Christmas lights and whatnot on.
We were right there when the glasses are...
Yeah, we were right at the top up there, and you can see those like four squares. We're taking pictures from there. But I guess what I wanted to work in today's talk along the lines of proof of God's existence is the preeminence of man. I don't see any animals with buildings, right? I talked about this in another video, like I was at Yorkdale Mall, and I talked about the singularity or uniqueness of life on Earth vis-a-vis whatever we know about the universe around us. We don't know of anything in terms of life or water or forms of life or anything. Yes, there's planets that could potentially harbor life in as much as having oxygen or something. I don't know, like maybe or maybe not oxygen. Who knows? I'm just babbling at this point. But the same way that the Earth is preeminent in the sense of having life and unique in that respect in terms of whatever else we know, well, you just take a look at mankind versus animals. How come there's no animals that are even half the way from the level of instinct to where humans are? You understand? It's the same thing as saying, well, if we've evolved from monkeys, how come you still have monkeys and you have humans, but nothing in between? Now, I'm not saying we haven't evolved, and I'm not saying there aren't thousands of pre-Homo sapien hominid skeletons around, because there are, right? I read Richard Dawkins' book too, and by the way, if you don't know, I've written a rebuttal to it, The No God Delusion. You go to my blog and you can click on my books and all this kind of stuff and you'll find it. But in any case, I don't see animals doing nothing like this. And, you know, it just seems to be a fascinating coincidence, or a very staggering coincidence, that, you know, among all the thousands and millions of species alive here on Earth, like, we kick so much ass in terms of our development and lighting fires in strange places and all this kind of nonsense. But that's really the gist of it. I guess I just want to make a quick flick and say that, you know, this organization that we have, and the law, and the society, and civilization, and history, and culture, and dreaming, and entertainment, and Xbox videos, and all kinds of stuff, computers. I mean, like, once again, if it was just a random thing, it would be like Star Wars, right? Where you have different aliens, and some of them are more or less developed, and they all have different intelligent, you know, quotas in terms of there's a gradient, I guess. But you'll find animals all the way along it, or creatures or aliens all the way along it. Do you understand? You got humans up here, animals down here, nothing in between. Isn't it strange? To me, it's strange, and it's a huge sign of the existence of God. The fact that he singled us out and made us so amazing. And I guess it's getting cold. So we're heading back to Toronto now. 6-hour drive. I want to pick up the new Pink Floyd album. I went to a Walmart, and strangely enough, they didn't have it. So Ottawa is right across the river from Quebec. I didn't know this. Like, Montreal is only 2 hours down the road. That's the only reason we're here. We went to Montreal, and then we decided to come here. I looked at the map, and I was like, shoot, it's practically on the way back home to Toronto. And other side of the river, you've got a place called Gatineau. We went to Walmart there, and I couldn't find the new Pink Floyd album. So last thing I want to say is, if you do come to town, we weren't expecting to go inside Parliament Hill, but they have free tours, a whole bunch of free tours throughout the day, and you can go up to what's called the Peace Tower up there. So essentially, after the so-called Great War, World War I, everyone got together and said, well, what a mad slaughterhouse. Let's build a monument dedicated to peace. And they did that. And apparently there were thousands of people here cheering it on, and it took 8 years to build and all this kind of stuff. Too bad that just 20 years later, there was another Great War. It was even worse than before. Apparently in World War II, 55 million people lost their lives. That's one of the upgrades, I guess, to the parliamentary buildings that's been causing some fuss on the Hill in terms of a scandal or whatnot. Everyone's got something to complain about, I guess. But there you go, over and out. So the preeminence of man as a proof of God. There's so many proofs of God. Us finding this place was a proof of God. Like, basically, we were circling around the place looking for somewhere to park, and we ended up parking somewhere and walking here, and then we were walking here, taking all kinds of crazy pictures, and then we saw signs for the washroom, and we came over and asked someone about the washroom, and then someone stepped up and goes, hey, why don't you go for the tour inside? One of the security guys. They're so awesome here. The security guys and the police and the tour guides and everything who works here is so nice and super friendly. Seriously, super friendly. Like, I'm a customer service fanatic, and these folks are just incredible. So we went to use the bathroom, and someone said, hey, go inside, there's free tours. Free tours, went inside, and then someone was like, hey, go up to the Peace Tower right at the top there, amazing views and all this kind of stuff. So I think we're going to go. The wife element is getting a bit anxious. And by the way, let me say this. I say this to people all the time. I might as well tell you, dear viewer, and the kid in 2062 who finds my channel and thinks it's pretty cool because no one else does. You know what? You guys say that we mistreat women. First of all, I might as well give you my little rant, my jihadic rant, which is something like this. And jihad, by the way, it just means struggle. It doesn't mean go out and kill innocent people. Essentially, jihad akbar is the inner struggle, as you know, like Allahu Akbar. Jihad akbar, the great struggle, is the struggle of the self. Now, you guys say we oppress women. This lady over here, like, she basically has me wrapped around her little finger. Whatever she wants is what happens. She can dress as she likes. She can do what she likes. She's a Christian. I'm a Muslim. I haven't tried to subjugate or subvert her. Nothing like that. You know, our holy imams, peace be upon them all, from the family of Prophet Muhammad, they talk about dress nice for your woman, wear perfume, dye your hair, and all this kind of stuff. Our seventh imam, peace be upon him, he said, if you were to give me the whole world, this great grandson of Prophet Muhammad, the whole world, if you were to offer me, but I had to stay away from my wife for one night, I would not accept it. It's very similar to the saying of Prophet Muhammad's. In the beginning, when the Arab chiefs saw how he was just converting people to this so-called new religion of his or whatever, like, he would just walk up to people in the middle of the trade and next to the holy house. There used to be idols there, and there was a trade route, and people coming from all over, and he just walked through the crowd, and people would be like, yes, I believe you're the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or God. Allah just means God with a capital G. But you guys say that we spread Islam by the sword. It's nonsense. Just tell me about one Muslim country that's attacked another non-Muslim country ever. Just tell me about that, apart from Saddam Hussein and Scuds at Saudi Arabia. Second thing is, you guys talk about things like the hijab. What about nuns? And by the way, everything in Sharia that you guys find so hateful is already extant in the Torah and stuff like that. So what I'm trying to say is, the things that we're blamed for are the things that our detractors do. We don't subjugate anyone. There's nothing like that in Islam. But then you've got nuclear bombs, and you talk about freedom and democracy, and you go around the world blowing up wherever you like, right? You're essentially forcing people into your way. And obviously, in the 60s, my wife's from Colombia. In the 60s, the States went into Latin America and essentially propped up all kinds of puppet dictators. Essentially, like, Noam Chomsky has charted this thing where essentially the more tyrannical and brutal and undemocratic a leader was during that time, the more likely he was to receive support from the States. Guys who tortured their people and committed genocide and all this kind of stuff. Why? Because they were pro-American. So the States would go in and help topple democratically elected governments. Once again, it's just a word. democracy. But it's not even that. It's like basically if you're on our side, it's good, and if you're not on our side, it sucks. It's like Walmart. We talk about free markets and all this kind of stuff. That's the way to be. Free economy, and communism is nonsense. Socialism is garbage, right? But at the same time, Walmart comes along and they're operating free economy at that very high level. Oh no, they suddenly suck because they've taken all our jobs, which they haven't. And see, what happens is this: people don't realize TVs are built in China. Mom and pop shops go out of business. But what happens to those TVs? They come back to the States, and millions of middle-class Americans and Canadians and other people who go to Walmart benefit. See, economics is not a zero-sum game. There's all kinds of stuff like this where basically when you actually look at it, you know, the so-called line and what we're fed is very different from what's actually going on. There's something else that came to mind as well, dear viewer, but you know what? There's no end to these kinds of rants, right? It's all, you know, it's all hypocrisy at the end of the day. You know, democracy